To have the sitting attorney general go on, and I'm gonna call it faux news. I know some of y'all love it, but it's fake to me. To have her go on Fox News and to then decide that she wanted to send a threat to me.
This is domestic terrorism. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday.
All right, y'all, buckle up, because we've got a whole situation to unpack today. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just lit up the mic in a takedown that had Pam Bondi, Fox News, and Elon Musk all catching smoke. And let me tell you, she didn't come to play. She came with facts, fire, and a whole lot of real talk. We're talking free speech, political retribution, billionaire privilege, and why diversity in law enforcement ain't just a buzzword, it's survival. So if you're tired of watching people twist the truth while hiding behind talking points and billion-dollar bank accounts, then stay tuned, because we're breaking it all the way down. Let's go.
To have the sitting attorney general go on, and I'm gonna call it faux news. I know some of y'all love it, but it's fake to me. To have her go on Fox News and to then decide that she wanted to send a threat to me.
This is domestic terrorism. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's this basic safety. Once again, domestic terrorism is going to come to a stop in our country.
Okay, so let's talk about this so-called domestic terrorism accusation, because Jasmine Crockett said, "Not today, Satan, and I'm here for it." Now y'all, this is the oldest trick in the book. Take a clip, rip it out of context, slap a scary label on it, and boom. You've got a manufactured outrage, Cycle Taylor, made for Fox News primetime. Pam Bondi ran with it like it was gospel. But guess what? Crockett's original statement wasn't a threat, wasn't a call to violence. It was about peaceful protest. You know, that thing the First Amendment guarantees us before half these folks decided only some speech deserves protection. Crockett, straight up, said she didn't like Elon Musk. She didn't say, go burn down a Tesla dealership. She said people had a right to protest, and she even told them to consult a lawyer first. What kind of domestic terrorist gives legal advice before a march? Please. This is what they do when powerful black women speak boldly. They gaslight, they twist, and they criminalize dissent. Crockett saw it coming and hit him back with constitutional facts and common sense. And honestly, more elected officials need to show up with that same level of clarity and courage.
It was wrong. Because here it is, she is the highest law enforcement agent in this country, and people are watching and they are consuming this information and they are believing that simply because I decided that I wanted to exercise my right to free speech, which I am not abridged from doing, that she then wanted to then politicize something that should not be politicized. I don't like Elon Musk. I'm going to say it 50,000 times. I don't like him. I don't like that he going out there and he firing people. I think that he's a crook because somehow the rest of us can't sit around and get whatever federal contracts we want. The rest of us can't sit around and get law enforcement and get them somehow ordained as federal law enforcement to protect him. The rest of us can't get our dealerships protected by the federal government. That is somebody that is operating above the law. For whatever reason, just because he has a lot of money, more money than everybody else. And yes, I am happy to see that on my birthday, which is what I said, there were peaceful protests around this world against him because he is a problem. And so you never should have somebody that is sitting that high and is going to sit up here and threaten a sitting member of Congress when she knew good and well, if she watched the entire thing, that I specifically told protesters to make sure you consult with lawyers, just like I've told protesters over and over and over in the history of me advising people to go out and exercise their constitutional right. The fact that there are other sitting members that have received letters of threat from this new DOJ tells me that they they are about retribution and they are not about following the law.
Let's talk about Elon Musk, because Crockett did not hold back. And honestly, someone needed to say it out loud. She called him out for what he is, a billionaire who plays by a whole different set of rules than the rest of us. She's talking about mass layoffs, cozy federal contracts, and magically getting his own private security turned into federally backed law enforcement. Meanwhile, regular folks and small businesses are out here drowning in red tape. If that's not privilege on steroids, I don't know what is. Crockett's not just ranting about Musk personally, she's exposing the system that lets him and people like him operate above the law just because they've got enough money to buy influence. It's not about business, it's about power, and how it's hoarded, protected, and weaponized against anyone who dares to question it. Now, speaking of power being weaponized, let's get into this DOJ situation, because Crockett's raising the kind of red flags that should have everybody paying attention. She's not just talking hypotheticals. She's pointing to real threats being sent to sitting members of Congress. She's talking about a Department of Justice that's being used for political retribution, not public safety. That's not just dangerous, that's authoritarian energy, plain and simple. Crockett is sounding the alarm because when law enforcement starts picking and choosing who gets protection based on politics, we're not in a democracy anymore, we're in a regime. And she's not having it. She's calling it out, even while they try to paint her as the threat. It's not just about her. It's about what happens when dissent gets criminalized and the people in power start using the justice system like it's their personal hit squad.
The reason that our party, or I won't even say our party, our country, is torn apart is because we can't even agree on right versus wrong. This should not be left versus right. The only thing that we're asking is that we have law enforcement that will show up when there is an actual crime. If somebody calls and says, hey, I need you to investigate this cyber crime, or I need you to investigate this child pornography, or I need you to investigate this robbery, then we want somebody to show up, and we don't want them to look at us and act as if just because I'm black or because I'm woman, that I am not worthy of having that case investigated, because we have an administration that is continuously railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion, or we don't need people that show up that feel like diversity should not be valued. That is why we should have somebody that may show up and looks like me. The final thing that I'll say, because you've been gracious, is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, let me tell you something. When I walk in, I'm going to walk in with a level of rapport and understanding that maybe some of my other colleagues will not. Charlie offered me my job, and I worked my butt off, and I worked really, really hard for all of my clients, not just those that look like me, and that is what it looks like to serve. Thank you.
Now, this next part right here, this is where Crockett really hits home. She's talking about equity in law enforcement, and it's not just a buzzword to her, it's survival. She's calling out how the current administration keeps railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion like it's some kind of threat. But the real threat is a justice system that only serves certain people while ignoring everyone else. She's saying we need folks in power who actually look like the communities they're supposed to protect and serve, because representation isn't about checking a box, it's about changing outcomes. And let's be real, when you've got police departments or federal agencies where no one looks like the people they're policing, how can you expect trust? How can you expect justice? You can't. And Crockett's not afraid to say that out loud, even when it makes people uncomfortable. Then she hits us with her own story, and this is where you really feel the weight of her words. She talks about walking into a public defender's office with zero experience, but with one powerful truth, that being a black woman gave her a connection and a level of trust with her clients that couldn't be taught. And you know what? She was right. She got the job. Not because of a handout, but because she understood something most people miss, that shared experience matters. She didn't just show up for black clients, she showed up for all her clients, but the point is, she brought something unique to the table. Something this system desperately needs more of. That's what representation looks like. not just being present, but making a difference. And hey, if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you for sticking around and tapping into the real tune. If you're feeling what I'm saying, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next breakdown. We're keeping it raw, real, and unapologetic over here. Until next time.